Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being involved in this issue and finding out more about it. We are so pleased to have you here. We're having this discussion and forum to find out what's going on in our state and in our county as far as healthcare services are supported. This is the third year of the Affordable Care Act, and many things have been done and are in the works because of the state's ability to design our own program. As long as it meets the ACA standards, we can come up with our own, and we think practically anything would be better, though we acknowledge that the ACA was a first step. We got people thinking about the issue, and I'm glad that you're here to help share this day. Our presenters today represent kind of three facets of this work that we're doing. Chuck Bridges is the president of Healthcare for All Washington, and he's come up from Seattle. He's a retired educator, and he became convinced of the need of a state universal health care program when he was working with refugees and students of second language as an instructor. And he saw infirmities and inequities and degraded health in his classrooms, just as I saw when I was teaching first grade up in Ferndale. And he's committed to the passage of the Washington Health Security Trust, or WIST, as a solution to the Affordable Care Act, and that is sustainable for the payers and the state. Welcome, Chuck, and thank you for being here and driving up from Seattle this morning. Really appreciate you. Representative Christine Litton is from the 4th Legislative District, and she has come to talk to us about her co-sponsored WIST, Take the Step, and what is beginning to look like in the legislature, and what is or is not taking place in the legislature. As vice chair of the Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee last year, she was concerned with sustainable policies that promote agriculture, environment, and the economy.
Yes.
Yes, which we think United for National Healthcare has something to say. And starting in January, she's going to be chair of the Finance Committee. Which is very important to legislation. And the opportunities the state that's going to have to meet healthcare needs and education needs. We welcome you, Representative Litton, and thank you for coming to Manacortes this morning.
Thank you.
And our poster announced that Alicia Fernbacher was going to be here. She called on Thursday to say that they had a family emergency and there was not any way that she could be here today, and she regrets that she can't. But you have to prioritize. And so Lynette Treen, who's been a friend of mine for many years, is the Director of Care Management at WAHA and knows an awful lot about what's going on, the who's and the how's. And she will help us understand the work of this nationally recognized community-based health collaborative, whose mission is to connect people to health care and transform the current system to one that improves health, reduces costs, and improves the experience of care. Thank you so much for your substituting at the last minute. You're great. And we'll take a small break after their presentations, and please don't leave because we're going to have a Q&A. So write down anything that you want to ask to a specific speaker or the panel as a group, and we appreciate very much. Chuck, may I introduce you, please?
Thank you very much, Donna, and thank you for the invitation to come and speak. I'm glad to be able to share a panel with Representative Litton and Lynette Treen. I started out right after retirement, coming up to getting involved in healthcare reform, coming up to a Bellingham meeting, I think, that Chris and all the good folks at here in Bellingham organized back in 2006. So it's always good to be back up among friends. And I always stop at the Mount Bakery and have my breakfast and my cinnamon roll before I come. So I'm always glad to be invited. Thank you very much. I got involved in healthcare reform back a while back when I was still teaching, I was getting tired. I'd been in the classroom for 35 years, and I thought, well, I must be at the end of my time in the classroom. I'm exhausted, and so I took a leave and tried to do some other things, work on my own independently, do some curriculum writing, things like that. But it turned out, so then that's how I learned about COBRA. What happens when you get, if you're lucky, and you get your health insurance through an employer, when you leave, they say, well, no problem, as long as you pay our part of your health care as well as your part, you're covered. And I had 18 months. And about, sure enough, as luck has it, about 12 months into my time on my own, I was diagnosed with probably a needed radiation treatment. And so, well, that explains why I was always tired, but now what am I going to do? They said, no problem, you've got several months to decide which kind of treatment you want. I said, well, that's not good, I'm running out of time. So I had to start networking with friends in the school districts, and just as I started radiation treatments, was the first day back in the classroom. And I learned that I don't think anybody should have to worry because we have an employer-based insurance system that we have to go through things like that. I learned quite a lesson. So I've been working since I did officially retire 7 years later. I've been committed to this endeavor that you all seem to be committed to also. So I was invited today to come up and talk a little bit about what's going on in various states around the country, like the efforts that we're doing, and to talk about the things that we should be involved in. It's always tricky in a room of this size, an audience of this size, what people's experiences are. So I just wanted to say that if anybody has a question about the word single payer, in one sentence, it's generally considered a publicly funded approach to provide affordable health care to all residents in a community, in a state or a country. And that's what we're after, a publicly funded, publicly financed system providing health care to all. Representative Litton can talk with us about what's happening, what might happen, what can happen, what could happen in our state in the coming years. So I can do a little bit more about other states. But it is for a context, if it's appropriate, to talk about back in the late 90s, after the first recent federal effort to provide national health care collapsed, undercut, didn't happen. A group got together nationally, composed of, it was a bipartisan group. I think Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter were honorary chairs of the effort, a national coalition on health reform. They had business people, labor, communities of faith, nonprofits all get together, and they decided healthcare reform is a very complicated issue. There's like 6 major components, and we should be aware of the major components to know when we're getting close to getting the job done. So I mention this because single payer is a part of this conversation. Getting a simple, publicly funded, uniform system for everybody is a part of a very complicated puzzle, but only one part. Other things included, we'll be talking. I've talked with Lynette and Representative Litton, some of the other things that we talked about today also. But we've also got to worry about improving quality of health care, cost management, simplified administration, equitable financing. Single payer as a solution to our general healthcare problem has an answer for covering everybody, and it has a partial fix for many of the other elements. And as we talk about what goes into the Washington Health Security Trust, the bill written for our state, we can see how, or if there's questions, I can give more details on how we attempt to fix part of some of these other issues. But fundamentally, we're behind a publicly financed system that allows every resident of the state of Washington to be covered. So with that, we could go on to maybe we talk about a strategy. And the strategy that we've developed in Healthcare for All Washington we're working, and then we have affiliates, so just like United for National Healthcare in Bellingham, there's a group with a long name, Jefferson County Citizens for Healthcare Access over the Port Townsend area. We have a Healthcare for All group in Spokane. We work with affiliates or other people who want to organize in their area. So our goal is to, our strategy is to work with our legislature to try to get crafted a bill that works for Washington State. We have some interesting particular characteristics that make Washington quite distinctive. One is our tax system. It's a little hard to do a progressive healthcare plan if we don't have a progressive tax system, but we all know that, right? So this is not news. So we've crafted with our colleagues in the legislature what we think is a beginning dialogue on a bill that would work for Washington State. So our strategy is to work with sympathetic legislators to get a bill passed in the legislature, and then either they would decide if they want to refer it to the voters, or they pass it, and then we are pretty confident the opposition will send it as a referendum to the people, just like in marriage equality in Washington State. So that means we have a two-pronged approach. We have to win over 51% of the legislators. We really need more than that, so it doesn't get unvoted the next year. A majority of the legislature, and we have to persuade, the latest count, what is it, 1.7 million voters in the state of Washington to pass that referendum when it goes on the ballot. So this is our strategy, this is our purpose, our mission, this is why we're here talking with you. We really believe in a state our size, we still need to think relationally. We need to think about, it's really talking to our friends and our neighbors for the education piece. If we're going to look for 1.7 million voters, it's up to you and me to know we have 10 friends that we have won over. We have got such clear, concise, brief talking points that our friends won't get confused when they turn on the television and they hear all the things that are coming on the airwaves. You have a handout on your chair with I tried to give you the latest piece from Colorado. They're very optimistic, they're very excited. But if you read between the lines, they also know there are now 12 months for the opposition to start bombarding the people of Colorado with a fear, misrepresentations, maybe even lies. I don't know if I should say that or not. And they've got to fight a 12-month campaign to try to keep the truth before the people of Colorado. It's difficult. We believe we need to start now. Each of us needs to start finding our 10 friends that we're going to bring over. Practice your talking points and get your friends so persuaded that each of them is going to go out and persuade 10 friends. With your talking points will be so clearly understood that they'll give them to their 10 friends. This is a very relational piece of work, we believe. Even in a state of 7 million people, it's about relationships with our legislators and with our neighbors, our family, and our friends. I'm not sure what else to say now. I'm looking forward to your questions and answers. Your questions. We'll see if we can answer them. We are, Healthcare for All Washington is one of about 20 groups in the United States. There's a group called One Payer States, that's us. And we're all autonomous because every state is different. And so the folks in Colorado are part of the same group. They just had a national convention. As soon as this election campaign is over, we know it's another 12 months, right, before the presidential elections. The notion is probably that for us working at the state level, we're going to try to work with our colleagues in the legislature to try to get the bill maybe to come out in the January 2020 session, which would then put it on the ballot for November 2020. And that's when we hope our kids, our grandkids voting will remember to come out and vote for president in 2020, and they will also then pull the lever for Washington Health Security Trust. Our slogan is health security that you can trust. You can trust regardless of whether you're employed, regardless if you're between jobs, regardless of your previous conditions, like that. So glad to do more questions. What you're going to hear Representative Litton talk about, how this might work in the Washington legislature, and the other ways of trying to get access to residents in your county are all important elements of this that you'll hear more from the panelists. So thank you.